This is a lesson on repeat signs and all the repeat signs out there and what you might run into in your musical travels. Here we go. First lesson is the open repeat. I'm not sure if there is an official name for this. Simply is when there is one repeat and you look at the dots, you go back where you just came from, and if there's no opposite repeat, you simply go back to the beginning. Did you track that? 1, 2, 1, 2 again, and then measure 3. Next we have closed repeats. When you look at the two dots and you track back to where you just played, since there is an opposite repeat sign here, I go to this repeat instead of the beginning. So I'll have measure 1, 2, 3, and then I backtrack to measure 2 where this repeat sign is, and then play that again. And of course we can combine these various repeats where I have measure 1, I'll look at the two dots here, nothing comes before, so I go all the way back to the beginning. I ignore the dots the second time and I play measure 2. I see the dots here, I know I need to repeat back to somewhere, and since I see the two dots here, I will repeat measure 2. And then the next time I will ignore this repeat and play on to the end. If ever in my music, if I need to repeat something more than once, it'll often say repeat 3 times, repeat 4 times, etc. Or it might say repeat until the conductor moves on. But the default is you'll always repeat once and move on. Next we have first and second endings. These are a little bit more complicated. I play measure 1, 2, 3, 4. I see my repeat sign here, and since there is no closed repeat, I will go all the way back to the beginning. But since this line music has 2 different endings, I'll look at where the line is on this bracket, and the second time, wherever that line is, I jump to the second ending. If the bracket is here, on the repeat, I would play measures 1, 2, 3, jump to 5. If the bracket is all the way out here, on the repeat, I would play measure 1, and then I would jump to measure 5. But with this piece, it's right there. Did you catch that? Jumping from 1, 2, and then to 5 on that second time through. First and second endings allow us to reuse a large chunk of music while changing the ending slightly, like you just heard. Now we're going to get a little more complicated with our repeat signs. We lose the repeats with the dots, and now we move to words that like to repeat. The first word we're going to cover is DC, which stands for da capo, or the cap, and where do caps go? They go on your head. So when you see the words DC, you go all the way back to the head of the piece, which is the beginning. And that's why if you ever see me, we're going to start at the top of a piece. I tap my head because it's da capo. I bet you didn't know what was going on there. So da capo, you go all the way back to the beginning. But you typically don't see da capo by itself. You'll often see da capo al fine. And this means go back to the beginning and play to the end. Fine, not fine. Fine is the end of a piece. So play through this again and it could be on the final bar line. That is to fine. But more typically, the fine is going to come in the middle of a piece. So we're going to attach the word fine there. And just to make it a little more clear, we're going to attach a final bar line here and get rid of the final bar line at the end. That way we can reinforce that this is not the end. The ending is actually here. Watch the playback on this. We ignore this the first time. And that's where the piece ends, is on the fine. The partner to the DC al fine is the DS al fine. And the DS al fine is the sign. And what is the sign, you might ask? This symbol right here is the sign. Has an S for sign. If you want to be fancy and sound Italian, you say dal segno. But it's the sign. So instead of going back to the beginning, you jump to where the sign is and play on to the fine. Ignore this the first time. And you have to remember, this is typically pages of music. These are short examples just to get the point across. The sign might be in the middle of page 2 of a 3-page song. You have to know where that sign is. Or it could be almost all the way back at the beginning. Moving on, things get a little more complicated now. We have our DC again, which is da capo. We have our DS again, which is the sign. And we have the new word coda, which is Italian for tail. And the tail is like the ending of a piece. So you have capo, which is head, coda, which is your tail. So if we take a line of music, let's put in a DC al coda. So we'll have our DC back to the beginning. But our coda is going to look a little different. We're going to put in a coda. Oop, not there. We're going to say to coda. And we're going to insert our coda here. There we go. And since the codas are like a big grand finale finish, it's something really different. We need to be able to find it fast. Codas separate themselves out. This is the coda sign right here. Notice it looks like a portal. So I ignore this the first time we play. I'll play measure 1, measure 2. The DC will take us back to the beginning. And we play on until we see the coda sign. And then we shoot through that portal all the way to the end. It's similar to a first and second ending, but typically codas will jump pages or a page to the end. They're much larger. And then we would play through the end. Now we jump. Did you catch that jump? Coda to coda. Sometimes you're lucky enough this will have words saying to coda, and you might have a word here saying coda. You can see here there's different variations of how these codas might look. This is the most common way with just the symbol. The last kind of repeat we'll cover is very simple. These are measured repeats. I have a line of music. It repeats a lot. I might lose track of where I'm at. And to save time and effort, I'm going to delete this and insert bar repeats or measure repeats. And now when I see the symbol, I take whatever line of music came before it and I repeat it, I repeat it, I repeat it, I repeat it again. But now it's much easier to track how many different times I'm repeating it before the piece ends. This is for one measure repeat. You might run into repeat the last 2 measures. You might run into repeat the last 3 measures. It all depends on the music you're reading and what you run into. So I hope this was helpful and add some clarity to all the different kinds of repeats out there. Thank you very much.